Hello, people of the world that like watching videos on the internet about cars. Welcome to this. My 1974 RA21 Toyota Celica with a 2UZ Toyota Tundra V8 stuffed in it. In the last video, I just got finished installing massive 4-piston calipers on all 4 corners of the car and ran into an issue with getting these calipers to clear the shock back here because they're big. Also, off camera the other day, Charlie and I mounted and balanced the new tires on the new wheels, which took 9 months to order for this car from Japan. And those wheels, of course, are none other than a set of Watanabes. For the rear, I went with the R-type model. This is a 15 by 8.5 with a -6 offset wrapped in a 245/40 Falcon RT660 tire. And up front, the wheels are staggered with the F8 model, slightly less lip, and this is a 15 by 8 -4.5 offset, wrapped in a slightly narrower 225/45 RT660 Falcon. And because these tires run about 10mm wider than advertised, it gives it a nice chunky meaty sidewall. There's no stretch here. Just for curiosity's sake, in case you were wondering what those would have looked like on the Celica Supra, yeah, they also look really good on this car. Obviously, you gotta do this first. First, I gotta make sure these things are nice and clean, that there's no more goose poop left on them from mounting the tires. Not literally goose poop, but some of you understood that. Only a savage wouldn't keep the back of their wheels clean. Get in between all the spokes. Now, there are a lot of wheels on the market that look similar to this design, but this is the OG original recipe. These have been in production since 1968 in Japan. So all the others that you see are just inspired by this design. Now, this is the main reason why I chose the F8 model for up front. You can see there's a ton of clearance right here for a big brake. For this next part, I have to don partial mop 4. Some of you got that.
Incoming, incoming.
This will help keep brake dust and brake fluid and all kinds of nasty stuff off the backside of the wheel. Before you comment on this, let me explain. This right here is a massive brake upgrade from stock. The hub and bearing assembly is much beefier than what came from the factory on here. As it should be, because every aspect about the suspension now is upgraded for way more abuse. The rear axle is beyond overkill for a car of this weight, as is the wheel bearings. These are designed for something that weighs almost twice as much. With that said, this is one of the few instances where I say that something like this is acceptable. A solid piece of billet aluminum wheel spacer that bolts on to the hub. Now you're probably wondering, why would I not just order the wheels and the correct offset to do this? And that's because they don't make them in this extreme of an offset. And your counter argument would be, well, why wouldn't you just get a wider wheel and then it wouldn't matter about that offset being so extreme? Because the widest 15-inch tire you can buy other than a drag slick is a 245 tread width. And I'm sorry for anyone that's a fan of the stretch tire look, but that's just not how I roll. I'm not doing it. Obviously these need Loctite, but for now, just snugging them up. All right, test fit Tuesday, and I'm gonna get this thing on the ground before I make any final judgment on how I'm gonna do this. Keep in mind, I have a ton of adjustment in the front suspension, so I can change this offset a little bit. Now, this being fiberglass, I don't want to take any chances of this coming up and contacting the lip. By ordering a larger diameter spacer, I can throw that spacer on a lathe and machine down just as much material as I need to really dial in that offset exactly where I want it, including making the adjustments to the suspension and the camber to get it just perfect. I have not adjusted the coilovers whatsoever. I haven't touched the suspension settings, so I'm just winging it right now to see how this looks. Okay, well, I definitely need to make some adjustments to the suspension, because as you can see, I won't even be able to turn the wheel, and also it's way too low up front. And in the rear, because I have no interior in the car, there's no weight on it, so it's gonna sit quite a bit higher for now. Welcome to the following day. I think before I go any further, it's important for you guys to get an idea of what my inspiration for this build is, so you don't get the wrong idea at this current point. This Group 2 Resto mod build out of New Zealand is by far my favorite I have seen and my inspiration overall for this project. You can see the car isn't super slammed. It's got that nice chunky tire, and honestly the wheels are a little bit inset on there. I'm trying to avoid going too modern with the styling and making it look like an old car with modern taste. Because this is a Group 2 car, they did go with a much smaller 13-inch diameter wheel and it has smaller brakes. Now obviously I'm not trying to build a classic rally car with this, but what I appreciate about that car is that it's of the era. It captures the styling as if it could have been done back in the 70s. And that's what I want to do with this as a Japanese muscle car. So with that said, I don't need this car slammed to the ground and I don't need absolute hella flush fitment, because that's more of a modern styling thing. So now that you've seen this super flush with the wheel spacer, so you get an idea of what it looks like, while it does look good, the scrub radius does not allow for that to even be possible because it's gonna contact the fender. Wheel goes back on, no spacer. Also, yes, I do have a dust cap as well as the center cap for these wheels. There's no need to put it on right now. You can see I got plenty of caliper clearance in there. I'll lengthen this guy, which is going to push the wheel back, the center line of the axle essentially back. That should be good right there. This was all the way to its minimum setting, so I'm going to increase this guy just a little bit. This should also step the track width out some. Just the tie rod, so this thing's not towed out like a drunk pigeon. Not entirely sure if pigeons can even get drunk, or if they do. I don't know, city pigeons might be kind of hard. I'm sure there's someone screaming in the comment section, all caps lock right now, saying, "You're doing your alignment wrong." Yep, I sure am. Because this thing's gonna go cross country in about 5 minutes. While I do have the junkyard engine in the car right now, you can kind of take the front ride height with a grain of salt because again, there's no interior in this thing. There's still quite a bit of camber I can dial out, and honestly, I don't think I need a wheel spacer at all up front. I think it's gonna be fine without it. That's originally how I intended this, so. Well, I raised the front a lot. I actually like the way that looks now. That looks more muscle car. Camber adjustment. Oh yeah, I can dial a ton of that out of there. Okay. Not only does the camber plate itself have adjustability for the top of the strut, but also the plate itself is adjustable with where it mounts to the top of the strut tower in the chassis of the car. It really doesn't have that big of a range of motion. Ah, I could flip that little golden plate. So the way it looks like this was designed is this gold plate right here can be rotated and flipped so you have more of a range of motion in this area for adjustment. Yeah? So there's the Watanabes on the car. Give you an idea, a rough idea what the car will kind of look like when it's done, even though it's far from done. Believe me on that. Right now, the only thing that's holding me from getting the engine back from the machine shop is I need intake cams out of this. Not because they're gonna use them. The stuff I really need off this junkyard engine is all this hardware. This hardware is corrosion free. Cam. If you look right here on the front of the intake cam, there are 5 holes and a little tiny dowel pin. Well, this little pin right here is what the machine shop needs, and they also need to know which hole it came out of which cam. This matters because of the fact that this is a 2UZ with VVTI, Toyota's Variable Valve Timing Intelligence. Okay, driver's side. I think those are, they're pressed in. Oh, there's a little filter. There's a tiny filter for the VVTI solenoid. Just like Hondas have that for VTEC. Well, that's interesting. The right side intake cam is actually slightly longer than the driver's side. L and R, they're like literally in the metal, so you can't mix these up. Hello, it's the next day. I'm taking the Supra on its maiden voyage. This is the first time I've driven it out on the road since I first bought it. So, fingers crossed, everything goes well, and time to get an alignment. Considering I just eyeballed the alignment on this thing, I was kind of shocked at how straight it drove. That and the air conditioning blows super ice cold in here, which is a must in Arizona. Finding a good tire mount and balance and alignment shop is extremely difficult, and luckily I finally found a gem. So this place mainly specializes in trucks, but it just so happens this is literally the only place in Tucson that I trust to align cars. That bagged GMC you see sitting out front belongs to the guy doing the alignment on my car right now. So you can tell he's used to doing very delicate, expensive wheels. So unfortunately, the car is so low, I have the coilovers adjusted so low, they can't even get it onto the rack. It's gonna hit the flange for the cat under the car. It's close.
Go slow.
Cleared. Hey, dude. The dog's licking me and the camera. It hasn't hit yet. Hi, Boca. Hey, sweetie. If you look underneath the car, you can see how low that exhaust is. It just barely clears the bottom of that rack. I could sit here and give you guys a recipe for a delicious bean soup in Swahili, but instead I'll fill you in a little bit of what's going on with this alignment. That's not as bad as I thought it would be. If you notice, their alignment rack uses these giant robot barnacles that have a soft rubber cushion to suction cup them to your wheel so it does not damage them, and then the hunter killer floats on a stick and talks to them about how Skynet will soon become self-aware and these cars can be used to take over the world. That looks like a Toyota Corolla. The factory alignment specs on this car actually have positive camber up front, mainly because of how weird the scrub radius was, but that's not gonna work for these new wheels and tires. So as far as the alignment goes, I don't know who's gonna get this car, but I feel I'd be doing it injustice by not doing at least a little bit of a performance alignment on it. It wears tires quicker, but it makes the driving experience better, makes the car handle better. So we're gonna do that. 1.5 degrees of camber in the front. There we go, that's good. Have to say, Boca is probably one of the sweetest shop dogs I've ever met. The alignment on this car is fairly simple since there's really not a ton you can do on the rear. And now that everything is good to go, he's gonna take it for a quick road test and be very privileged to get to drive this car because they don't let anyone drive it except for whoever wins it. Driving the car home was amazing, except for the fact that something unfortunate happened. If you saw my Instagram stories last night, you already know this, but I don't know how this is like 3 things had to fail for this to happen. My parking lens lamp assembly fell off. And you want to talk about a rare, super hard to find part? Is one of these. This screw that holds it in was too short. It needed to have a longer screw on there. And the ball socket that holds it into place, the 3D printed one I got, well, apparently it's not tight enough because that failed. And the bulb, it didn't hold on to it long enough. It must have just vibrated enough and finally fell off. As soon as I got back here, I hopped in the Bronco and I retraced the exact route that I drove and I didn't see it anywhere. So, it probably got smashed. Luckily, the passenger side one's still there, and I looked up the part number for the correct Toyota screw and put one of those in there. So now this guy is not going anywhere. I was able to find one, thankfully, by searching junkyards around the nation. And I found 2, and I bought both of them, just in case one of them is in poor quality compared to the other. So I will hopefully have it in about a week, and then I can film the rest of the car view because I filmed half of it already. As far as this thing goes, I'm gonna get straight back to work on it tomorrow. I just kind of figured there wasn't enough stuff to really include with the wheels in this video. So this video rapidly veered off topic, but that's what happens in real life, and I wanted to show that this happened so you know, and know that I have a fix for it, and know the car's got a good alignment, and I really enjoyed the first drive. And as far as choosing a winner for the car, I just finished signing all the posters for you guys that you had ordered. So once those get out to the people that purchased them, it should be like a week or 2, I'll be doing the drawing for whoever won this car. And that'll give me some time to finish filming the car review. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video on the V8 Celica. Bye!